Hey, what's going on, YouTube family? It's your man Jeremy Doodoo here, and in this video, I'm going to suggest 3 questions that you ask in your next UX interview process. Now, there are a ton of different questions that you can ask, but in my personal opinion, these are questions that are going to empower you to understand if this is a company that you want to work for or a company that you want to completely stay away from in all your different rounds of UX interviews, because it feels like nowadays UX interviews go through several different rounds where you'll meet with multiple people. So, enough talk. Let's get into the questions. The first question that I would suggest you ask is, what's the design process like at this organization? And the reason that you want to ask this is because there are 3 different tiers or 3 different responses that they can have. In my opinion, there might be a ton of different responses they give you, but they might have a process in place, which is great. They might not have a process at all, or they might want to look at you as the expert and ask you to implement your own process when you get there. And I feel like there are pros and cons to each of those scenarios. If they have a process, you want to understand if it aligns with your own individual process. The challenge there is that if you're a new designer or somebody who's new to the design field and you want to understand how designers work and how they collaborate with other stakeholders, then you figuring that out on your own might be a challenge in itself. Um, and that might not be for you if you're not up for that, right? Whereas the opportunity with not having a process is that you can start to be looked at as a leader. But the challenge with that is that it can be complete chaos. And I'm speaking from personal experience, because if they don't have a process, it's almost like working in a new kitchen where the chefs are trying to understand the recipes, they're trying to understand the history of the restaurant, they might be trying to understand what's good on the menu and understand how to work efficiently together to get the plates out to customers as efficient as possible without sacrificing the quality of the food. So there's a lot that goes into understanding how to work individually and work with the team. Um, and it's the same way with designers. You're trying to understand how to be most efficient to get a product out. And the last part of that, one of those scenarios, is that they allow you to implement your own process. And the opportunity with that, once again, is that you can be looked at as a leader in the organization. But the challenge is that people are reluctant to change or something that's new and novice to them. So if you start that first day or that first month and you're trying to do something that's totally brand new to a team, it might be a little bit of a hurdle, or a hump for people to get over. Once again, those 3 scenarios, they might have a process, which is great. They don't have a process, or they ask you to implement your own process. The second question that I would suggest you guys ask is, how does the design team collaborate with stakeholders? And the reason you want to ask this is because right now we're still living through the pandemic. And if you're going to work remotely, you want to understand if people are distributed across the country or distributed in work across the world, right? There's been many times where I'm working, I currently work on the West Coast, but I have coworkers who work on the East Coast or across the other side of the world. So there's been times where I have to set up a meeting at 6 a.m. or 8 p.m. And you want to understand how your work is going to fit into your lifestyle with your friends, your family, and how you can accommodate time for yourself. But you also want to understand from this question what tools people are using currently to collaborate. A lot of people are familiar with InVision, Lucid Chart, and Figma. But if there's a tool out there that you're not yet familiar with, and you can learn that tool before you start the job, then that's only going to look like a good impression on you, and you can hit the ground running from day one. So yeah, I feel like You just want to understand how people collaborate currently, and if there are better ways to collaborate that you know of, then maybe that's something that you could suggest or try out on the team that you want to work for. The last question that I would suggest that you guys ask is, how does design currently fit within the organization? And once again, I feel like the lucky number 3 is my number, and there's 3 different scenarios that we'll talk through. They could be, the design team could be at the bottom of the totem pole where they're not getting any respect. They're just handing off designs, whipping things out, just cranking out work without really thinking about what they're doing or understanding the direction that the company or team is trying to work towards. Or they could be in the middle where they're trying to earn a seat at the table and they're on the come up, right? They're trying to break through and they're making changes to get some respect. And then they could be at the top of the totem pole where they're earning respect. Outside stakeholders outside of the design team understand the value that design brings. They understand that there's monetary value, that there's social value to the business, and they get respect. They've earned their stripes, right? So yeah, just depending on how that hiring manager answers, you want to understand how design fits within the culture. You want to understand if that designer or hiring manager likes working at that organization. And since nowadays you're talking to several different designers, a lot of times you'll start to understand different personalities and different experiences that those designers have, and to form your own opinion on whether this is an organization that you want to pursue or not. So yeah, guys, I hope that these questions help you out. Take everyone's answers with a grain of salt, because of course everybody has their own personal experiences and biases to things. When you're going on interviews, of course you're trying to get a job, but you want to get a job that you feel like is the best fit for you. So I hope that these questions help you, and if there are other questions that you would suggest to other designers to ask, then please comment down below. And once again, these are not questions that you need to ask. They're just my personal opinions on questions that I think are important to get answered before you take on a role. But if you like the video, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.